So the most important thing about your text is the legibility of the text. It can be affected by various things. This is a really good example that we have here. If you right click and open in a new tab, you can see it more clearly. You can tell that this font right here is a lot harder to read than either of these two, and especially the contrast between white and the background color. There needs to be a good amount of contrast. Now there is a way to measure that, and we can use both Photoshop and this contrast checker that I've linked here on our web page. So what it has is two colors. These are color codes. These are hex codes for every color in the world, and by default we've got a dark blue and a white background, and you can see the examples here. So we're really talking about the large text because we are making these words as big as will fit in the safe zone. So I've opened this up so we can do a sample of how to measure the contrast between two colors. So what I'll do is I will put this side by side. You have two monitors, then you can put both of these on separate screens. For this tutorial, I'm simply going to open this up like this so I can go back and forth. So what I have here is the color picker, and yes, we can pick different colors, and you can see that that's changing. I'm actually going to use this eyedropper here. It is going to sample the colors from the image. So if I want to get this dark blue here, I can click on it, and you can see that it has changed my foreground color. And then in my color picker panel, I've got that right here as well. Now what I'm going to need is this little 3-line button right here, because I can click on it and it will copy the color's hex code. Now that's the same thing as double clicking on my foreground color and copying it from right here. That's where we see the hex code. So you can copy it there, but it's a little easier just to use what's built in here. Copy the color's hex code. I know that I need to put this in my background color. So if I click inside this box, it's all highlighted, so I just need to Control V paste. Now it won't change the color until I click away somewhere that is not in that box. Now this blue is not my foreground color, it's white. So if I go all the way to the right there, I can also adjust it this way. You can see that that passes for normal text by both of these standards, large text and any graphical objects that we're using like a text input box. Now let me go ahead and sample the background color. So just returning to Photoshop. I'm still in eyedropper mode, and I'm going to click on this blue. You can see it changed there. I'm going to copy the color's hex code and put it right here for the background color. I paste that in there, and you'll notice that this number is now going to go down. So to 2.53 to 1 is an official contrast ratio between those two values. And you can see it now fails both on normal text, even the large text. This is not considered very legible. And let's see how far down this number goes, this contrast, if I sample over here. So I'm still in eyedropper mode. This is like a light gray. Let me copy that. Copy colors hex code and put that in the background. And then it goes way, way down, 1.17. Well, that means those two colors are practically the same thing. So how does that work with an actual title? Well, let me bring one of these up. You can see here that we have basically a single color. There is a gradient there, but any one of these would probably do the trick. I'm going to copy the background color here and put it here, and you will see that it's that purple. Now my foreground color, it does have a black outline, but it goes to the inside instead of the outside. So you kind of have a combination of black going to a purple. So which color do I actually consider for the contrast? Well, the outermost edge technically is, let me zoom out a little bit, what I can see. And so I can read these pretty well. It's just the aesthetics, the dark purple with the black. If I were to pick just the purple, then I could copy that hex code and paste it in here for my text color or the foreground color, and it if it was just that purple, it would not do it. Even though it's a pretty dark purple, it's not a high enough contrast ratio. Now, if I change that, let me zoom in here. Oops, over here, Control plus, and I'm going to sample the black that's along the outside, and I can copy that hex code, put it in here for the foreground color, meaning the text color, and it's black, and it does pass. Not all of them, not for small text, but for large text. And yes, we can read that. But notice with a bevel and emboss, the way that we have it, that the lighter side, where the light is coming from, shadow on this side, let's see what the contrast is with this part. So once again, switching over to Photoshop and sample that color and copy and paste. And this part of the text is not very high contrast. Once again, looking at the entire graphic, we can see that it does kind of make it's a little harder to tell where the edges are on the top than it is on the bottom right instead of on the top left. So it works. I wouldn't take anything off for this. It is legible, but it can be a little bit tricky. What we're looking for, I took the glow off. So if I were to sample this color for my foreground and copy the hex code and say my foreground color or text color is that teal, and then I could try some of my different background colors. So with this blue right here, what is my contrast ratio? Let's go see with that background. It's 2.71 and it fails. So depending on what's in the background, and these different backgrounds can have lots of different colors. If I were to sample this one, that dark blue right there, it's probably okay. So the idea is that we want to make it high contrast all the way around our entire text. Control A, Control V, and then it passes. How do we do that? Well, I added on my food, let me find my food layer, I had this outer glow around it, which makes no question about it. Black is separating my text from my background very, very clearly. It's kind of over obvious, but that's okay for something like text we want people to see and read in just a split second as it shows up on the screen to introduce our category. So this is a tool that if we need to, we'll use it to kind of explain to you why your contrast wasn't good enough to make it easily legible. A lot of times, again, it's just a matter of adding a glow or a stroke around your text that is different from the text color and separating it from the background.